Hello there. This is Justin Hampton with the Compensation Tool, a market pricing and benchmarking solution with a real-time data solution as well. I'm super happy to kind of hop back on for this Comp Tool Tuesday. It has been a week. We were in Atlanta last week speaking at the World at Work conference, which was just such a fantastically, really well done conference. So congratulations to the whole World at Work team, Scott, Mihai, and Courtney, and everyone else that I got to chat with. So I just want to say congratulations on such a fantastic conference. And there's certainly no question as to how much work that must have been to do. Prior to that, I was in Tampa speaking at the Disrupt HR conference with the Living HR team. Again, that was actually a really fantastic conference as well. Really interesting format, the way that was designed. It was, I can't remember what it was called, but essentially it was a 5-minute presentation with 20 slides, and you have 15 seconds per each slide. And once you get to 15 seconds, it's going to the next slide, whether or not you are ready. That was a really fantastic conference as well. And I got to meet a lot of great people over in Tampa. And so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a fun week or two. And I think one of the things that I've taken away from the last week or so has just been how much excitement I think we've seen in the comp space and how many things are changing. And one of the slides that I did, the conferences I was on, I want to share this with everybody, because I think as we were preparing these presentations, this slide really kind of speaks towards the thesis of why are we having challenges hiring, and why is our data different than what we're seeing from our salary surveys. So I'll go ahead and share this screen. And by the way, you can throw me a chat. We can see chats over here. So if anyone has any questions as we're going through this, feel free to put it in the box, and we'll answer those as we get them. So the screen I want to share, and kind of the slide that we shared during these presentations, is this one right here. So I think that we as comp, HR, recruiting, everybody have found that a lot of the data that we're seeing in the market data is not keeping up, or it's not reflective of the challenges we're finding in the space. But why is that? Salary surveys have a tremendous amount of data. They are some of the most validated data sources out there, but we all know they're 90 days old. But that's not really what the primary driver between that mismatch is. And I think that really the biggest driver, one of the biggest drivers behind the data that we're finding being misaligned to what we're seeing in the market, is because salary surveys measure the entire market. Salary surveys measure everybody that's in a particular role or in a particular industry. And what they're doing is they're looking at people that are, flight risks, certainly. They're looking at people that are highly employable, have these great skill sets. They're also looking at people that are very content in their job, and people that are engaged in their jobs, and people that aren't looking. And what I think that does is that creates a little bit of a disconnect between hiring competitively today and aligning your compensation philosophy to the market 50th or the market 75th or whatever it might be. Because when you align your compensation philosophies to a market rate, it absolutely makes sense to align those to the entire population, to what the market is bearing. But where we actually find that some of that disconnect is when we're actually trying to look and see what it takes to hire today. And that's that tip of the iceberg. That's that piece that we can see, or that we're seeing in job postings. We're seeing from managers bringing printed out things. We're seeing from, or we're hearing from, previous candidates where they're going to look, or from candidates that say they have competing offers. All these things are true, but really it's just that top piece that we're actually competing for. And oftentimes those are the folks that are going to carry a premium against the market data, because there are surely several people, several kinds of jobs where several companies where people will go and they'll take either an equivalent rate, or they'll even be willing to take a little bit smaller pay than they would in their current role. But oftentimes those job seekers are going to carry a premium. And in this slide, as we kind of update that here, I think what we're wanting to show is those salary surveys, they would include everybody, but a significant majority of folks in particular roles aren't going to be those job seekers. But when you actually, and those are going to heavily be included and heavily weight towards the market values that you're seeing in those jobs. Now, when you go to look at job postings and those job seekers, what you actually are going to find is that those people are going to have a higher expectation for a greater rate of pay. And that is oftentimes where you may find that disconnect, especially now. Now, there's a number of different reasons for that, but I think one of the biggest reasons for this disconnect is because with the compression we've seen, with the number of people quitting their jobs, with the scarcity of job seekers as compared to jobs out there, employees and candidates hold a lot of the cards, and they're able to command a higher premium in that pay. And although the majority of people are still going to be earning closer, in this example, closer to that $76,100, you may find that those people are going to go out and ask for 8, 10, 15% more to take another role. And with the employees kind of having, holding many of the cards, at least right now, you're going to see that they're going to be able to command a premium in the market. And a big part of that is driven by the scarcity of qualified job seekers, but the inflationary rates that we're seeing as well. And then just kind of what we're seeing in that market data being a little bit behind, or at least being more inclusive of what we're seeing. So, all right. Oh, and this is a good question too from John. So I'll get that shared up on the screen. So, John's saying, is it really just one market? The employees who choose to be optimistic had different markets than the employees who stay. This is evidenced by average pay rises of new hires versus offer increases. I think that's a really, really good point too. I think, we look at just one market, market data point. The employees who choose to be optimistic have a different market than employees who stay. And I think that's 100% right. I think there are many employees who may be content with the role that they're in and may not be, looking for additional or different opportunities. But I do think that those are the employees that are going to really be, with that optimistic viewpoint, they're going to be the ones that are really pushing for a higher rate of pay. And I think this has traditionally been true. I think that traditionally most folks, there's a bit of inertia to change jobs. They're either have to be pushed or pulled, or a little bit of a combination of both of those. And if you are able to offer as a company, if you're able to offer a higher rate of pay, you're going to start pulling those folks. And I think where compression is what's going to start pushing folks away when they realize that they can start to command a higher salary because of what is being offered out there by different competitive employers. So, I think the idea of employees having an optimistic view versus those that staying, they are optimistic they are going to be able to go and earn additional revenue or earn additional be salaried at a higher rate than they're currently paid, or maybe it could just be even a sign-on bonus that they're after, or could be a greater opportunity. So I think that there are differences in those employees that are staying versus those that are looking, and I think that in order to be competitive, you have to really make sure you're aligned to those employees that are looking for particular jobs. And so I think this is probably one of the slides that we really liked sharing at the different conferences. And I think it really does kind of help at least paint somewhat of a picture behind some of the different data elements that you may see and you may need to consider when you're finding discrepancies between that and your survey data. Now, obviously, we have a real-time data solution, Squirrel, which is looking at data from yesterday. I think we added 30,000 data points yesterday, or maybe that was today. But what we're doing is we're pulling those job postings, which of course anyone can do with some elbow grease and manual work, but we've consolidated all of those. We're tracking those over time, so you don't have to. Now, we can show kind of those job postings versus current incumbents. And when you marry those two things up between your salary surveys and the job postings and kind of what companies are willing to pay, it gives you a very holistic viewpoint of what the market will bear and the direction the market's going. So if you haven't looked at Squirrel already, I would certainly recommend taking a look at it and see if it might help to address that tip of the iceberg question. But again, this is Justin Hampton with Compensation Tool and Squirrel. It's been another Comp Tool Tuesday, and we'll keep having these every Tuesday. If you know someone that may be a great speaker or have a topic you'd like for us to address, feel free to shoot a note over in our direct messages. Slide into the DMs, I guess. or just shoot me an email. That's fine too. But again, thank you guys so much for joining another Comp Tool Tuesday, and we'll look forward to the next one. Take care.